In 1987, a Wisconsin family purchased a used wooden bunk bed from a secondhand store. Within weeks, they claimed their children were seeing an elderly woman standing in their bedroom and were witnessing objects move around the house by themselves. Police investigated, ministers blessed the home, and the story even made national television. But nearly 40 years later, the story still defies explanation. The Tallman story didn't begin inside a crumbling mansion, abandoned asylum, or centuries old cemetery. It began in one of the most ordinary places imaginable, Horicon, Wisconsin, a quiet Midwestern community where neighbors knew each other and life moved at a comfortable pace. Alan and Debbie Tallman were raising their family there in what appeared to be an ordinary ranch style home. There was no documented history of hauntings connected to the property, no local legends, no reports of unexplained deaths inside the house. By every account, it was simply just another family home. Like many young couples in the 1980s, the Tallmans tried to stretch every dollar. So when their children needed more bedroom space, buying secondhand furniture was the practical choice. They found a sturdy wooden bunk bed. Nothing about it appeared unusual. No strange markings, no mysterious history, just another used piece of furniture. At least that's how it seemed. According to the Tallman family, nothing happened immediately. Days passed, then weeks. Life continued as normal, until the family began noticing small things that were easy to dismiss. A door that seemed to open by itself, a strange noise in the hallway, objects that weren't exactly where someone remembered leaving them. Any one of these incidents could have had an ordinary explanation. Old homes settle, people misremember, children imagine things. At first, that's exactly what the Tallmans believed, but then the children began describing something much harder to ignore. According to the family, the children started hearing whispers, footsteps, and laughter after everyone else had gone to sleep. One child claimed the turning dial on a bedside clock radio turned on its own. Then came the reports that would define the entire case. The children insisted there was someone standing inside their bedroom. They described an elderly woman. Some later interviews called her witch like. Others claimed she appeared surrounded by flames. The descriptions changed over the years, but one detail remained remarkably consistent. The children believed they were not alone. Alan Tallman wasn't interested in ghost stories. Friends later described him as practical and skeptical. He searched for ordinary explanations before considering anything supernatural, but according to Alan, the strange events weren't limited to the children. He later recalled leaving a paintbrush in his basement workshop. When he returned, he said it had somehow been placed upright inside the paint can. Not impossible, just unusual. Then more incidents followed. Objects appeared where no one remembered putting them, lights reportedly flickered, furniture seemed to shift. Each event by itself was explainable. Together, they began forming a pattern that deeply unsettled the family. The Tallmans started asking a question that would shape everything that followed. Why had all of this started only after the bunk bed arrived? Alan later described one night that changed everything. Unable to calm the children's fears, he slept in their bedroom. Sometime during the night, he awoke, and according to Alan, he saw what appeared to be a mist gathering inside the room. He claimed it slowly took on a human shape. In later interviews, he described glowing green eyes and reddish pupils staring back at him. He also claimed the figure spoke two chilling words: "You're dead." Allen insisted the experience was completely real. No photograph was taken, and no one else reported seeing the figure at that moment. But to believers, this was the strongest evidence that something supernatural had entered the home. Skeptics point out another possibility. Sleep specialists note that vivid waking hallucinations can occur during the transition between sleep and wakefulness. These experiences can include voices, figures, and an overwhelming sense of reality. Whether Allen experienced a paranormal encounter or a neurological event remains impossible to determine. As word spread through Horicon, the family's story attracted increasing attention. Eventually, local police became involved, not to investigate ghosts, but to determine whether there was a conventional explanation. According to later accounts, officers looked for signs of trespassing, vandalism, fraud, and environmental hazards. Nothing conclusive was found. The Horicon police chief later said the Tallmans appeared sincere in what they reported. At the same time, he emphasized that investigators found no physical evidence proving anything supernatural had occurred. With no clear answers from law enforcement, the Tallmans turned to their faith. Local ministers visited the home, prayed with the family, and performed blessings. Exactly what each minister concluded has been reported differently over the years, but the family's recollections consistently describe these visits as an important turning point. Eventually, the family decided that whether the bunk bed was haunted or not, they no longer wanted it in their home, so the bed was removed. According to the family, the unexplained activity stopped soon afterward. For the Tallmans, the conclusion seemed obvious. The bunk bed had been the source. But experts cautioned that this outcome can be interpreted in more than one way. If the family's fear had been centered on the bed, removing it may also have removed the focus of that fear. Neither explanation can be proven. The bunk bed itself was later destroyed and discarded, eliminating any possibility of future examination. Nearly 4 decades later, the Tallman case remains unresolved. Supporters of the paranormal point to the family's consistency, the involvement of police and clergy, and the claim that the disturbances ended after the bunk bed had been removed. Skeptics point to the absence of physical evidence, the possibility of sleep related hallucinations, memory distortions, stress, and the way extraordinary stories often grow with repeated retelling. Neither side has produced definitive proof, and perhaps that's why this story continues to endure. Unlike many haunted house legends, the Tallman case centers on something almost everyone has encountered: a used piece of furniture, an object so ordinary that few people would think twice before bringing it into their home. Whether the Tallmans encountered something genuinely paranormal, or whether an ordinary family became caught up in a cycle of fear, expectation, and unexplained coincidence may never be known. What is certain is this: in 1987, one family's terrifying experience transformed a simple wood bunk bed into one of the most enduring paranormal mysteries in modern American folklore. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe so that I can continue to bring you more obscure history.